He turned a scattered collection of motorcycle clubs into a criminal empire that law enforcement would chase for half a century. If you want to understand how outlaw biker culture became a global phenomenon, stay with this story, because what one man built in Oakland changed everything. Oakland, California. April 1957. Ralph Hubert Barger, Jr. stands in a garage on Foothill Boulevard. He is 18 years old. 5 men stand with him. They call themselves the Hells Angels. The name is borrowed from a charter that existed in San Bernardino. That charter is dead. These men are starting over. They have 6 motorcycles between them. Barger becomes president. The original Hells Angels Motorcycle Club was founded in Fontana, California, on March 17, 1948. Otto Friedli, a World War II veteran, established the first charter. By the mid-1950s, multiple independent Hells Angels charters existed across California. They had no central organization, no unified structure. Each chapter operated alone. Barger was born October 8, 1938, in Modesto, California. When he was 4 months old, his mother left. She ran away with a bus driver. His father, Ralph Sr., worked the docks in Oakland. Barger grew up in the port area. The streets were rough. He dropped out of high school. In 1955, at age 16, he forged his birth certificate and joined the U.S. Army. 14 months later, the Army discovered the forgery. He received an honorable discharge. Back in Oakland, Barger gravitated toward motorcycles. In 1956, he joined a small street gang called the Earth Angels. The following year, he and a handful of riders decided to form something bigger. They adopted the Hells Angels name. They chose Oakland as their base. The Oakland chapter started small. Barger ran it with military precision. He established rules. Members had to own Harley-Davidson motorcycles. No exceptions. They wore a 3-piece patch system. A top rocker with Hells Angels in red letters on white, a center patch featuring a winged skull called the Death Head, and a bottom rocker with Oakland spelled out. Other chapters across California operated independently. Barger wanted control. He began reaching out to scattered charters. He proposed unification. A national organization, one voice, one leadership structure. September 1963. Porterville, California. Hundreds of bikers from multiple clubs converge on the small town for a motorcycle rally. Local police and the California Highway Patrol respond with force. Officers block roads. They arrest riders. The confrontation is violent. News reports describe a riot. The media labels the bikers as criminals. The Porterville incident gives Barger leverage. He argues that only a unified organization can stand against law enforcement and media attacks. Other chapters listen. Oakland assumes informal leadership of the Hells Angels. By 1964, the Hells Angels have chapters across California. Barger coordinates between them. He establishes a network. Each chapter president reports to Oakland. The structure is loose but functional. Barger becomes the de facto national leader. In 1965, journalist Hunter S. Thompson begins researching the Hells Angels. He rides with them. He attends runs and parties. He interviews Barger repeatedly. Thompson's book, Hells Angels, A Strange and Terrible Saga, is published in 1967. The book brings national attention. Thompson calls Barger the maximum leader. The nickname sticks. The relationship between Thompson and Barger sours. In 1966, Thompson attends a party at a Hells Angels gathering. An argument breaks out. Several angels beat Thompson. He is hospitalized. Thompson accuses Barger of ordering the attack. Barger denies involvement. The two never speak again. Despite the violence, Thompson's book cements the Hells Angels' outlaw image. Sales are strong. The club becomes famous. Young men across America want to join. Barger uses the publicity to expand. Oakland. Barger files incorporation papers in California. The Hells Angels Motorcycle Club becomes a legal entity. Barger registers the Death Head logo as a trademark. He registers the club name. He registers the red and white color scheme. The incorporation creates legal protection. It also creates a structure for expansion. Barger distributes shares in the organization. A board of directors is established. Chapter presidents from across the country hold seats. Oakland retains the largest influence. Barger does not hold an official title beyond Oakland chapter president, but everyone knows who controls the organization. The incorporation allows the Hells Angels to sue anyone who uses their symbols without permission. Barger protects the brand aggressively. Rival clubs cannot use the Death Head. Independent riders cannot wear the patch. The legal strategy works. The Hells Angels become the most recognizable outlaw motorcycle club in the world. By 1969, the club has chapters in California, Nevada, and Alaska. Barger pushes for international expansion. He makes contact with biker clubs in Europe. He proposes charters in England, Germany, and Switzerland. The plan is ambitious. Barger wants a global network. December 6, 1969, Altamont Speedway, California. The Rolling Stones organize a free concert. They hire the Hells Angels to provide security. Barger coordinates the operation. He brings members from multiple chapters. The Angels are paid in beer. The deal is informal. The concert attracts 300,000 people. The crowd is massive. The Hells Angels are unprepared. Violence erupts throughout the day. Angels beat concertgoers with pool cues. Fights break out near the stage. During the Rolling Stones performance, an 18-year-old named Meredith Hunter pulls a gun. He is high on methamphetamine. Alan Passaro, a 21-year-old Hells Angel, stabs Hunter multiple times. Hunter dies at the scene. The murder is captured on film. Passaro is arrested and charged. He goes to trial in 1971. His defense argues self-defense. The jury sees the footage. Passaro is acquitted. The case becomes infamous. Altamont marks a turning point. The media blames the Hells Angels. Critics call it the death of the 1960s counterculture. Barger defends the club. He argues that Hunter had a gun. He claims the Angels were protecting the stage. The controversy does not slow the club's growth. Instead, the violence enhances the outlaw reputation. Young men join in record numbers. The Hells Angels become synonymous with danger. Barger's criminal record begins in 1963. He is arrested for assault. Over the next decade, law enforcement targets him repeatedly. Prosecutors see him as the head of a criminal organization. Barger sees himself as a club president. Oakland. Federal agents arrest Barger. The charge is possession of heroin for sale. Agents find 37 grams of heroin during a raid. They also find weapons. Barger is a convicted felon. He cannot legally own firearms. The trial begins in 1973. Prosecutors argue that Barger runs a drug distribution network through the Hells Angels. They present evidence of multiple transactions. They call witnesses who testify about club-sanctioned drug dealing. Barger's defense argues entrapment. They claim federal agents planted the drugs. The jury does not believe it. March 16, 1973. Barger is convicted on multiple counts. The judge sentences him to 10 years to life in Folsom State Prison. Barger serves 4.5 years. Inside Folsom, he maintains control of the Oakland chapter. He communicates through coded letters. He uses visits to issue orders. The club continues to operate in his absence. Other club leaders are arrested during this period. Law enforcement launches coordinated raids across California. Dozens of Hells Angels members are charged with drug trafficking, assault, and weapons violations. Prosecutors call it a crackdown on organized crime. Despite the arrests, the club grows. New chapters open in Arizona, New York, and Massachusetts. Barger's imprisonment makes him a martyr. Young bikers see him as a symbol of resistance against authority. Barger is released on parole. He returns to Oakland. The club is larger than when he left. Membership has doubled. The expansion continues under his leadership. Barger begins rebuilding his public image. He gives interviews. He appears on television. He portrays the Hells Angels as a brotherhood of motorcycle enthusiasts who are misunderstood by society. He denies the club is involved in organized crime. Law enforcement disagrees. In 1979, federal prosecutors bring RICO charges against 33 Hells Angels members, including Barger. The indictment alleges racketeering, conspiracy, and interstate drug trafficking. The trial is massive. It lasts for months. Prosecutors present evidence of a national criminal enterprise. They claim the Hells Angels operate like the mafia. They point to the club's hierarchical structure. They argue that Barger is the boss. The trial ends in a mistrial. The jury cannot reach a verdict. Prosecutors are frustrated. Barger walks free. Barger is diagnosed with throat cancer. He is a heavy smoker, 3 packs a day for decades. Doctors perform surgery. They remove his larynx. They remove his vocal cords. Barger survives, but he can no longer speak normally. He uses a one-way speaking valve. He presses a hole in his throat to speak. His voice becomes a raspy whisper. The surgery does not slow him down. Barger continues running the Oakland chapter. He attends club meetings. He coordinates with other chapters. The valve in his throat becomes part of his image. It makes him more intimidating. Throughout the 1980s, the Hells Angels expand internationally. Chapters open in Canada, Australia, New Zealand, and across Europe. Barger oversees the growth. He travels to Europe to establish contacts. He meets with leaders of biker clubs in Germany, Denmark, and the Netherlands. He offers them Hells Angels charters. Many accept. The expansion creates conflicts with rival clubs. In Canada, the Hells Angels go to war with the Rock Machine. The conflict lasts years. Bombings and shootings kill dozens. Barger stays out of the direct violence, but he supports the Canadian chapters. In Europe, the Hells Angels clash with the Bandidos and Outlaws. The conflicts are brutal. Law enforcement in multiple countries launches investigations. Prosecutors in Germany and Denmark charge Hells Angels members with murder and racketeering. Barger's strategy is clear. He wants the Hells Angels to dominate the outlaw biker world. He franchises the Death Head patch like a business. Each new chapter pays dues to Oakland. The money funds legal defenses and club operations. Louisville, Kentucky. The Hells Angels are engaged in a territorial war with the Outlaws motorcycle club. The Outlaws control much of the Midwest. The Angels want to expand into Kentucky and Indiana. Tensions escalate. An undercover FBI informant infiltrates the club. He poses as a member sympathetic to the Angels' cause. He records conversations. He gathers evidence of a conspiracy. October 1988. Barger and 9 other Hells Angels members from California and Alaska are arrested. The charge is conspiracy to transport explosives and firearms across state lines. Federal prosecutors allege that Barger planned to bomb an Outlaws clubhouse in Louisville. The indictment is detailed. It describes meetings where Barger discussed the bombing. It includes recordings of phone calls. It presents evidence of purchased explosives. Barger's defense argues entrapment. His lawyers claim the FBI informant encouraged the plot. They argue Barger was set up. They point to inconsistencies in the government's timeline. The trial begins in Louisville in 1989. Prosecutors present their case over several weeks. The jury hears the recordings. They see documents linking Barger to the conspiracy. Barger takes the stand. He denies planning the bombing. He admits he was angry at the Outlaws. He admits discussing violence. But he claims he never intended to follow through. The jury deliberates for days. They return with a verdict: guilty. The judge sentences Barger to 4 years in federal prison. He also orders Barger to pay fines. Barger is 50 years old. It is his second lengthy prison sentence. Barger serves 3.5 years. He is released in 1992. He returns to Oakland once again. The club is stronger than ever. Membership has spread to more than 20 countries. The Hells Angels are the largest outlaw motorcycle club in the world, but Barger's role is changing. He is no longer the young president who built the organization. He is now in his 50s. Younger members are rising through the ranks. Some question his leadership. Conflicts develop within the club. In the late 1990s, Barger moves to Arizona. He steps back from day-to-day operations in Oakland. He maintains his membership. He remains a respected figure, but he no longer runs the club. Barger turns his attention to public relations. In 2000, he publishes his autobiography, Hells Angel, The Life and Times of Sonny Barger and the Hells Angels Motorcycle Club. The book is a bestseller. Barger portrays himself as a rebel who stood against an oppressive system. He downplays the violence. He emphasizes the brotherhood. A book generates controversy. Critics accuse him of romanticizing criminal activity. Law enforcement officials call it propaganda, but the public is fascinated. Barger becomes a celebrity. He appears on talk shows. He does book tours. He signs autographs. Barger writes additional books. He publishes novels about biker culture. He writes a guide to motorcycle maintenance. He capitalizes on the Hells Angels brand. The outlaw image sells. In the early 2000s, Barger begins appearing in films and television. He has small roles in movies about bikers. In 2008, he appears in the television series Sons of Anarchy. The show is a fictional drama about an outlaw motorcycle club. Barger plays a minor character named Lenny the Pimp Yanowitz. He appears in 2 episodes. The show's creator, Kurt Sutter, consults with Barger about biker culture. Barger advises on authenticity. He helps with dialogue. He ensures the portrayal feels real. Sons of Anarchy becomes a massive hit. Millions of viewers watch. The show introduces a new generation to outlaw biker mythology. Barger's involvement in the show enhances his celebrity. He is no longer just a criminal. He is a cultural icon. Young men buy Hells Angels merchandise. They wear death head patches without understanding the history. The club's legal team works to stop unauthorized use. But the image is everywhere. Throughout the 2000s, law enforcement continues targeting the Hells Angels. RICO indictments are filed against chapters across the country. Members are convicted of drug trafficking, murder, and weapons charges. Prosecutors argue the club is a criminal enterprise. Barger defends the organization publicly. He insists the Hells Angels are a motorcycle club, not a gang. He argues that individual members may commit crimes, but the club itself is not criminal. Law enforcement disagrees. Courts repeatedly classify the Hells Angels as a criminal organization. In 2003, Barger is arrested again. The charge is aggravated assault. He is involved in a fight at a bar in Arizona. Witnesses say Barger threatened another man with a weapon. Barger claims self-defense. The case goes to trial. Barger is convicted. He receives probation. The conviction is minor compared to his previous sentences, but it reinforces his outlaw image. Barger is 74 years old at the time of the conviction. He is still fighting. By the 2010s, Barger's health declines. The throat cancer returns. He undergoes additional treatments. His body shows the wear of decades of hard living. But he remains active. He attends Hells Angels events. He rides motorcycles. He gives interviews. Barger's influence on outlaw biker culture is undeniable. He created a model that other clubs copied. The 3-piece patch system. The hierarchical structure. The national organization with independent chapters. The branding and trademark protection. Every major outlaw motorcycle club uses this template. The bandidos, outlaws, pagans, and Mongols all follow the structure Barger established. They compete with the Hells Angels for territory and influence, but they operate using the same organizational principles. Law enforcement agencies across the world study the Hells Angels. They use the club as a case study in organized crime. Training materials reference Barger's leadership. Prosecutors cite his strategies in court. Barger's legacy extends beyond the club. He shaped public perception of outlaw bikers. Before Barger, motorcycle gangs were seen as disorganized troublemakers. After Barger, they were seen as sophisticated criminal networks. The distinction mattered. Media portrayals changed. Films and television shows depicted bikers as anti-heroes. They were rebels with their own code, dangerous but honorable. Barger encouraged this image. He gave interviews where he emphasized loyalty and brotherhood. He downplayed the violence and crime. The strategy worked. The Hells Angels became a global brand. Chapters operate on every continent except Antarctica. Membership numbers in the thousands. The Death Head patch is recognized worldwide. But the criminal activity continues. Law enforcement reports link Hells Angels chapters to drug trafficking, extortion, prostitution, and murder. Convictions pile up. Members serve lengthy prison sentences. Some die in gang wars. Barger always maintained that he built a motorcycle club, not a criminal enterprise. He insisted the Hells Angels were about freedom and independence. He rejected the label of gangster. But the evidence tells a different story. Court records document decades of criminal activity linked to the club. Wiretaps capture conversations about drug deals and violence. Informants testify about club-sanctioned crimes. Barger himself served 13 years in prison across multiple convictions. He was arrested dozens of times. He was tried for conspiracy, drug trafficking, and assault. The pattern was clear. June 29, 2022, Livermore, California. Sonny Barger dies at his home. He is 83 years old. The cause is liver cancer. His wife, Zorana, is by his side. Barger posted a message on social media before his death. It reads, "I've lived a long and good life filled with adventure, and I've had the privilege to be part of an amazing club." News of his death spreads quickly. Tributes pour in from Hells Angels chapters worldwide. Members post photos. They share memories. They call him a legend. Law enforcement officials have a different reaction. They release statements emphasizing Barger's criminal history. They remind the public that he was convicted multiple times. They argue his legacy is one of violence and crime. September 24, 2022, Dixon, California. Hundreds of motorcycles roll into Sacramento Valley National Cemetery. Barger's funeral is held with full military honors. He receives an honorable discharge from the Army that entitles him to burial in a national cemetery. Hells Angels members from around the world attend. They wear their patches. They ride in formation. The funeral procession stretches for miles. Barger is buried with military honors. A flag is folded and presented to his widow. Rifles fire a 21-gun salute. Taps plays over the cemetery. The ceremony is somber. No speeches are given. No eulogies. Just the rumble of motorcycles and the silence of the cemetery. Barger's grave is marked with a simple headstone. It lists his name, dates of birth and death, and his military service. There is no mention of the Hells Angels. No death head, just a veteran's marker. Within days, the grave becomes a pilgrimage site. Bikers from across the country visit. They leave patches, coins, and bottles of beer. They pay their respects to the man who built the outlaw biker myth.